Okay, so I know that in our slideshow we touched on 360 breathing and the importance of it and what it is, but having a video I think is so much more beneficial in teaching a good 360 breath. So again, what happens in pregnancy is as baby grows, organs, baby, everything pushes up on your diaphragm. And your diaphragm is that muscle, sits right here underneath your lungs. It's your muscle of respiration, so your breathing muscle. And what happens is when you take a breath in, that diaphragm moves down so that the lungs can expand and have room to expand. Well, when baby is there pushing everything up, it's hard for that diaphragm to move down. So just as a compensation that happens naturally in pregnancy, what we tend to do, since everything's pushed up there and that diaphragm can't move, what we tend to do is kind of go into that lifting of the chest and that extension through our back to kind of feel like we give that diaphragm a little bit more movement. We give those lungs a little bit more room to take a deep breath. The problem with that is it's a shallow breathing pattern, and we know how important our diaphragm movement is in conjunction with our pelvic floor. We know they move together. We know they work together. So if that diaphragm just has a shallow movement, your pelvic floor has that reciprocal shallow movement too, which we don't want. So a good 360 breath, what I want you to do, I want you to start off practicing this in front of a mirror, okay? In front of a mirror, getting that visual feedback is so good. If you don't want to do it in front of a mirror, if you set your phone up and like have the selfie cam on, you can do it that way. Whatever, just so that you can see yourself too. And you can see if you are taking your deep breath and you're kind of compensating, coming up into that arched back where we're kind of lifting that chest and then coming back, okay? Seeing those shoulders rise a lot. Anything movement up here is showing us that we have a shallow breath, okay? Same thing, belly breathing is a little bit better than this chest breathing, but again, belly breathing is not getting us our true diaphragmatic movement or that 360 movement of the rib cage, which is what we need to restore optimal functional mechanics, okay? So standing in front of a mirror, having your selfie cam up, okay? So you can see yourself. What you're gonna do, you're in an upright position. You can be sitting, standing, whatever, but you're gonna take your hands and put them on your rib cage, kind of right around your bra strap line, okay? So hands come here, and you can give a little bit of pressure there so that you get a little bit more input. I don't want it to be just a light touch there on your rib cage. I want you to have a good firm touch on your rib cage so that when you take your breath, you can feel, are my ribs moving? And what you want to feel is that as you take your breath, that those ribs move out into your hands, and then as you exhale, those ribs move back down and in, okay? What can happen too with pregnancy is that we can kind of get stuck in that inhale pattern, so those ribs can be kind of stuck out, so then it's hard to feel those ribs move out when you take that breath in. But then when you exhale, if you apply that little bit of overpressure, then you can feel those ribs move back down and in and almost help them get back into position, then it's going to be easier to feel them come out on that inhale. Okay, so let's practice. Hands on the rib cage, okay? And what you're going to do is deep breath in, feeling those ribs move out into your hands, and then exhale, gently pushing those ribs back down and in if you need to with that little bit of overpressure. So again, it's gonna look like, watch my hands, you're gonna see them. Now it's not gonna be a huge movement like what I do with my hands here. It's gonna be slight, but you should still be able to see and feel the movement, okay? So hands around the rib cage, deep breath in, watch my hands. You see how they moved out, and then exhale, and they come back in, okay? So that is your 360 breath. Now, if you go back and you watch me again, you're probably gonna see a little bit of chest rise. That's okay. You can't totally isolate one thing from the other. Good full 360 breaths. You're gonna get a little bit of chest rise, you're gonna get a little bit of belly movement, but you're also gonna get that rib cage movement, okay? So we don't want it to be, you know, heavy chest and little to no rib cage movement, or heavy belly breathing, little to no rib cage movement. Our first priority is that we're getting that rib cage moving, okay? Coming out with the inhale, in with the exhale. And again, if you've got that little bit of chest movement or that little bit of belly movement along with your ribs moving, that's okay. It's all gonna work together, okay? So be practicing that 360 breath, because we will add on to it in the coming weeks.